Welcome to Ball-Headed Metal, guys, and welcome back to another Nemophila reaction. Seems like they're releasing a lot of new songs, and this song is Seize the Fate. I've been really enjoying their singles, so it's kind of been just along for the journey. I like the Nemophila sound and kind of their heaviness that they present sometimes in their songs. I really enjoy that. It sounds like it's going to be a heavy song as well. Kitty, stop playing with my stuff on the table. Be nice. So let's get into it and see what we got. This is a very surprising take for me for Nemophila because for me this reminded me of like a 90s thrash metal where there was a lot of infused groove in thrash, like Grip Inc. Kind of the first band that kind of popped into my head, but with her vocals, the singing that almost has a very, very slight rap influence in there, which I mean, groove, it kind of makes sense as well. So it's an interesting take, much heavier than I expected it to be. It's actually like if you change her vocals to be just the harsh ones, it's a pretty hardcore thrash song for the most part, right? Maybe the chorus line is a little bit on the softer side, which to me is something I've noticed in I'm not going to speak for other far East Asian bands, but like Japanese bands, I've noticed they don't like to stick to one style. Like even within one band, they're okay with switching it up every single song. They don't feel like they need to stick to one particular style. And I think people could be a fan of that or not, because especially the format of music and how we consume music has changed, right? We go more based on singles than a rather a full album. I'm still a full album kind of a guy. I like only a couple singles. I want surprises to be left for me when I listen to a full album. You know, like I like that feeling. And I actually typically like one unified sound on the album. I don't like for every song to be completely different, like a rap album or a pop album. But that aside, so far I'm quite enjoying the song. Bass solo. Yeah, this is oh, there's only a couple. Let me finish this off with the 20 seconds, and we'll kind of talk about it for a much longer time. So there's a couple of thoughts, both good and bad. Well, something that has nothing to do with the music. I've always found this kind of like a style of clothing where you wear something that's too big and baggy, like sort of like they did in the '90s. It was like really popular in the hardcore scene, in the punk scene, and some metal, like there was that oversized style, which from what I understand, is pretty popular in Japan. I never understood it, but that's just the visuals. Let's get past that to the music. I would be very much down for almost like this thrashy side of Nemophilia for like a full album to be like that. For me, the only thing that kind of I feel personally, here I think it would have benefited from a harsher vocal style to really give it that oomph. And the chorus line kind of, I think, pulled away from the heaviness of the song, which was, looked like was the intention. So it's I don't know if it's like they don't want to fully commit to like a full thrash, crazy fast style, that they still want some softness in their music. And judging based on how every single from Nemophilia is extremely different, it's the maybe it's hard for them to settle on a particular sound. Some people feel like you shouldn't settle on a sound, like that's going to come to personal preference. I always felt like there should be unified vision for an album. Like you can go, I feel like from album to album you can change and kind of try new things, but I feel like an album should be a unified idea, because then it becomes this unified thing that you can't get anywhere else, rather than just like one song. It's a bigger risk, but it can be also a really nice reward. For example, the biggest example I recently mentioned to somebody was Green Carnation, Light of Day, Day of Darkness. It's a full commitment on the one song that's 1 hour long, and it's like it either fails for somebody or it becomes the best thing they heard. For me, it was like one of my favorite albums of all time. I like the sound, like Hypnosis probably is my favorite sound from Nemophilia, and it incorporates all the best things of the band. It has the heaviness, it has the more groovy side, and it both has the singing and the harsher vocals, but it's done in this kind of modern way where it just mashes well. Whereas this, I don't think personally that the chorus line really mashes with the heaviness of the song, because the solos are like blistering and fast, which is really cool. The riffing is really kind of aggressive, more basic, but very aggressive, which I really enjoy. And her vocal style, I would personally prefer something that's a little bit lower register to kind of accommodate the rougher sound. I gotta say, I mentioned this before in the reaction. I am personally just not a fan of a band releasing singles until they have enough to release an album, because it tends to not have a unified idea. And I don't like the feeling of listening to an album and already knowing everything that's on it. Or a lot of times what you get is with bands is you hear all the best stuff in the singles, and when you get to the album, there's nothing else to excite you. And my recent example was both Lorna Shore and the new Lamb of God, where the best songs in the albums are the ones I discovered once I heard the album the day they came out. And it was such a nice surprise to say, oh, there's even better songs in the album, Like, why didn't they put that as a single? I think it's a great feeling to have. It's like if you watched a movie, but you saw all the best scenes in the trailer. That's kind of how I feel about it. Overall, I feel like this band is, I'm going to say, still finding their sound, because somebody like Love Bites or Bandmade or which ones I've listened to a couple of, Asterism, I see a unified sound and a unified idea of what this band represents, and within it they're more playful, where I feel like Nemophilia might be jumping genres a little too much. Again, understandably so, there's people that probably love that style, and probably there's some people just, they like one song, they don't like another song, and they're fine with that. I'm kind of on that second part. I'm like, okay, so I like one song, I don't like another song. For me, I just would have liked like an album from beginning to the end with a vision in mind that I like from beginning to the end. That'll be kind of my thoughts. I feel like I'm repeating myself, so I'm gonna think I'm gonna end it here. And I want to open up the floor to you guys and your particular opinions on this new single and the idea of how Nemophila really switches their styles. I really want to open that question to you guys and see how you feel about it. I'm also going to open up to you guys to recommend some songs here that are more old school because we've been doing a lot of new stuff. I want to check out some old school bands that perhaps 10, 15 years old people really, really love and kind of grown up with. Let's see your recommendations in that as well. And make sure to enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe out there and keep it metal.